you want anything from the shop?
Cornetto.
You want anything from the shop?
Cornetto.
Welcome to part 2 of the Cornetto Trilogy, Hot Fuzz. Now, in my original conceit, as I said before, this didn't quite fit to me. It was the outlier. But watching them all kind of close together has made me realise that that's exactly why it fits. Nicholas Angel is very much a by-the-book, by-the-rules kind of guy. If it isn't written down, it's not true. And that's how he lives his life. He could learn a little, I think, from Gary, but definitely from Sean, like I said last week. But like all of our protagonists, the element of his personality that could do with a little tweaking, shall we say, does cost him a partner. He loses Janine, Sean loses Liz, Gary and Sam have their history. But it also loses him his job. Instead of being promoted internally as sergeant within the Met, they ship him off to Sanford, based on the fictional town that the Met actually used for hypothetical scenarios. And as a quick aside, I think this whole thing of like he's making everyone look bad is meant for comedic effect. I don't think it's a slight against the Met. I think a real police force would be like, how can we get everyone else to raise to that level? And it is a funny way, of looking at it. It's just like, yeah, you're making us all look bad, please go. But he does ship out, he does go, and really gets to rethink his life. He comes to this place where everyone is so slapdash by his strict rule adherence. They don't even use the proper terminology, which is the minor, the most tiny infraction they could make. They can't even get that little bit right. And that's like a snowball effect to him. If they can't do that right, how can they do anything else? We have the famous shot of Tony Fisher with, the what makes a bad police officer all around his head. And that's exactly how I think Nick Angel sees all of these people. They are all just not really good police officers. The fact that he meets Danny the first time as an inebriate and is so surprised that it's actually an officer and his only punishment is he's got to get ice cream. It's very much run as a very small village kind of thing. And as someone who's lived in a small village, whilst it's not quite that level, and also it was a lot smaller than this anyway, but it's not quite that level where everyone knows absolutely everyone and the police are kind of slapdash. It is very much an interesting caricature, because I have lived in places where it does seem like everyone knows everyone. There are suspicions of interbreeding and things like that. It does sometimes get like that. You can never sneeze without someone 5 streets over knowing within 5 minutes. And this kind of thing is anathema to Nicholas Angel. He hates this idea. He hates this place. It is so wrong to him that he just finds it so difficult to really get in with it. He is always on the go, but this isn't the kind of place where that's valid, and so many people call him up on it. It's like there's not a murder around every corner. And I do apologise for Gloucestershire residents where this is set for that accent.
Oh, murder, murder, murder.
He's not going to experience the same kind of crime in the big city, and he just can't seem to get it into his head because that's who he is. He's a consummate police officer, a consummate professional. But he didn't reckon on the NWA. Now, I did say that I wouldn't cover off all of the kind of Easter eggs and the setups and payoffs, etc. But there's a lot of little nods in this, like we have the waltz off with the cuddly monkey at the village fete, etc. All these moments have been lauded, like with Shaun of the Dead and a few bits with The World's End, where there are these clever setups and payoffs. And again, it's part of this tapestry they weave throughout all of these films. It's part of what makes these films what they are. It's part of what made me want to talk about them. But I do love the fact that over time we do get these adjustments to both Danny and Angel, because Danny wants to kind of be a great police officer. He doesn't realise it. He thinks he wants, the police chase, or the car chase, and, the gunfights and things like that. But what he wants is to be a great officer. And once he starts to realise that, you start to see this improvement to his character. In a way, they are both coming together towards a middle point of great officer, but still a good, rounded human being at the same time. I think Danny's first change when he's, is at the blower Draper car incident, shall we say, where he actually immediately after being told we don't use accident, we use collision, that's what he says to someone in a car as they're pulling up, asking what's going on. He immediately starts to get it. I think Nicholas Angel's character development kind of came more about sort of 40 odd minutes in, when I sat watching Point Break and Bad Boys 2, etc. When he opens himself up to spending time with a colleague without any preconceived like improvement of your career or anything like that. It's just two guys blowing off some steam after work and enjoying each other's company, just having fun, being sociable, being a rounded human being. That's the moment that he starts to soften. And it just continues. We have this consistent sort of easing into it. He's still on the go. His mind's still, going 10 to the dozen. He's still a great officer, but he can turn off a little. And throughout the film, we do see these moments, but we also see that, yes, his tenacity, his unwillingness to just say, well, maybe it's nothing, is in fact what solves the mystery. We do learn about the NWA's nefarious schemes, and whilst he's overthinking it in a grand level, that it's this whole kind of bypass that's going to create this retail park and ruin the surrounding area, no, it's just, they're making a mess, they're causing us problems, we don't like them in that village, they were thinking of leaving. It's petty village politics in a nutshell. And this, I think, is such a great indictment, I suppose, to small villages and how there are people in every village, and small towns are included, I think, because that's, I think, really what Sanford is. It's a small town more than a village. There are people who think they run the place, who want to control the place, who feel that anyone who doesn't subscribe to their ideals is an interloper, is wrong, and probably not should be killed. I think most people do fall short of that. But they don't react very well to people sort of not agreeing with what they want for the village. And that's what the NWA is. We're laughing at it because it is kind of true if just taken to the nth degree. But that does lead us to one of the greatest parts of the film, I think, ever. Whilst the film, like all of these three, have great moments, a lot of the better moments in these films do come towards the end. The big sort of village shootout that I think very closely mirrored the run early on in the film. It's a great sort of setup and payoff again. It's like Star Wars, it rhymes. We have this kind of setup where he's going through, and we're getting all this, and it's just brilliant. How we see, I think, one of the most important things of Nicholas Angel's character, even when he's kind of snapped a bit, he's still non-fatal. Everyone else is shooting to kill the residents. They just want to kill them. But he always goes to the non-fatal approach. I mean, yeah, okay, some of the things that he causes to happen could end up fatal, like a bear trap falling on someone's head, and that could end up fatal, but in and of itself, it's not, if you know what I mean. He's not trying to kill, he's trying to maim or basically incapacitate. This is what police training is. Killing is the last resort, and because he's been in the special unit where, they do this, that's what he's been trained to do. Shoot to incapacitate. Take out the threat, not the person. And he's obviously a good enough marksman that he can pull it off. I mean, the fact that Danny manages to do it as well is a kind of hand-wavy sort of film trick, I guess. But this all leads them, to finally getting closure. They solve the crimes, they clean up the town, and then of course we have the end where, they are the action guys. It sort of ends in a classic police kind of movie way. But it does show that Nicholas Angel has chilled. He's become a more rounded human being. He's learned the lessons he needed, and Danny's kind of risen to a similar level. I think the rest of the Sanford Police Force also have risen to a similar level. Unlike the Met, where he was so good and everyone else was trying to possibly be that good and just couldn't, he's coming to a place where no one was trying, and then when they actually try, they're really amazing. We get that feeling, the fact that they turn to him, they go, actually, yeah, and they help him in the siege of Summerfield, which Amy did want to say, was quite interesting, considering we pretty much have none left now. It is quite a sad thing in a way in the film, seeing something that used to be everywhere, and you rarely see them, if ever. But it is, I think, indicative of how much he's grown as a person. He's got them on side when originally they were very antagonistic. Oh, stop treating it like it's London. They're like, okay, we can be really good police officers, but we can still have fun. They enjoy themselves, in the paperwork scene, etc. He's softened, and they've all risen to meet, and that's what it is. This is very much about the middle ground, kind of similarly to Sean. It's not being too much of an adult that you forget your childlike side. This is not being too much married to your job that you become a fun human being as well. You can turn off, but you're always ready. But Gary King is a very different beast. He just wants to be free, man, to do whatever he wants. So I think we'll look at him next time, and I do hope you'll join me. But until next week, as always, take care.